All right, let's dive into the hidden forces that are quietly running your life every single day. We're going to pull back the curtain based on the amazing work of Charles Duhigg and uncover the secrets of our habits. More importantly, we'll see how you can actually start using that knowledge to completely transform your routines. So, let me start with a question that might sound a little bit crazy. What if I told you that for almost half of your day, you're not actually making conscious choices? I mean, think about it. Your entire day, from the moment you wake up, just running on autopilot. What if the choices you think you're making, well, aren't really choices at all? Because here's the staggering truth that the research shows. About 40% of our daily actions, they're not decisions, they're habits. That is a huge number. It just goes to show you the immense power these automated routines have in shaping pretty much everything we do. Okay, so how does this autopilot system even work? To really get it, we have to look at the brain's fundamental operating system for every single habit you have, good or bad. It's a simple, elegant system called the habit loop. You see, every single habit, it doesn't matter what it is, follows this exact same three-step process inside your brain. First, there's a cue, which is just the trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode. Then you have the routine, which is the behavior itself. And finally, there's the reward, which is what tells your brain, hey, this whole loop, it's worth remembering for the future. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. The incredible story of a man named Eugene Pauly proves just how deep this stuff goes. A viral infection completely destroyed his memory. He couldn't recognize his own family, couldn't remember his own age, but he could still take his daily walk around the block and find his way home perfectly. It was an amazing testament to the fact that our habits live in a completely different, more primitive part of our brain, one that his memory loss couldn't touch. Now here's the real kicker. The habit loop isn't just some mechanical, robotic process. It's actually powered by a powerful emotion, a craving. Our brains don't just get the reward. They learn to anticipate it and want it. This is exactly how advertisers turned toothpaste into a daily ritual. They didn't just sell clean teeth. They sold the cool, tingling sensation that people started to crave. That craving is what drives the loop. So, if our brains are basically hardwired with these powerful, craving-driven loops, are we just stuck? How in the world can we possibly change them? Well, it turns out there's a surprisingly simple but incredibly powerful rule for hacking this very system. And this is it. This is the golden rule of habit change. You don't try to just eliminate a bad habit. Instead, you redesign it. You keep the old cue, you keep the same reward, but you consciously insert a new routine. It's a simple idea, but it's a complete game changer. Alcoholics Anonymous is probably the most powerful, real-world example of this principle. The cue for someone struggling with alcohol is often stress. The reward they're craving is relief, or maybe companionship. AA doesn't try to get rid of the stress. Instead, it offers a brand new routine, going to a meeting, talking to a sponsor that delivers that very same reward of relief and community. It's a brilliant, brilliant application of the golden rule. But what if I told you that some habits are more important than others? That changing just one single habit could set off a massive domino effect of positive change throughout your entire life. Well, these are what we call keystone habits, and they are the secret to widespread transformation. A keystone habit is kind of like the central stone in an old Roman arch. It doesn't actually hold up all the weight itself, but it locks all the other stones into place. By focusing on changing just that one habit, you can start a chain reaction that transforms other, totally unrelated parts of your life, without even trying. The story of the aluminum company Alcoa is an incredible example of this. When the new CEO, Paul O'Neill, came in, he totally stunned Wall Street. In his first big speech, he said his number one priority wasn't going to be profits. It was going to be worker safety. His goal was 0 injuries. People thought he was crazy. But that single-minded focus on safety, that keystone habit, set off an amazing chain reaction. See, to get to 0 injuries, managers and workers had to communicate better. They had to understand why accidents happened, which meant improving their processes. That led to higher quality products. And the result? By the time O'Neill left, Alcoa's profits hit a record high. The most indirect path turned out to be the most effective one. So as you can see, this whole power of habits isn't just some personal self-help tool. It is a core strategy that some of the world's biggest and most successful companies use. So let's take a look at how these organizations are actively engineering habits to shape what we do, both as employees and as customers. Starbucks, for example, is an absolute master of habit engineering. They train their employees in something called willpower habits. like their latte method for handling angry customers. When someone is upset, the baristas have this pre-programmed routine to fall back on. It removes the stress of having to decide what to do and ensures a consistent positive outcome. But here's where it gets even wilder. Companies aren't just creating habits, they're predicting them. By analyzing all the data we create, they can anticipate what we need, sometimes before we even know we need it. The famous case of Target's predictive analytics is a fascinating and, maybe a little unsettling example of this. Target's data guys discovered this incredible pattern. They found that women in their second trimester started buying specific things, like unscented lotion, vitamin supplements, and big bags of cotton balls. By tracking these seemingly random purchases, their system could predict with scary accuracy when a woman was pregnant, sometimes even before she told her own family. Okay, so we've covered a lot. The habit loop, the golden rule, Keystone habits, it's fascinating stuff. But now let's turn all this knowledge into action. Let's make it useful for you. Here is a simple 4-step framework you can use to become the architect of your own habits. First, you gotta identify the specific routine you wanna change. Be really clear about it. Second, you have to experiment with different rewards. This helps you figure out what craving you're actually trying to satisfy. Third, isolate the key. When the urge hits, just notice. What time is it? Where are you? What's your emotional state? And finally, once you have all that data, you can create a plan to insert that new, better routine when the cue strikes. The big takeaway here is this: your habits are not your destiny. They are a choice. And you now have the blueprint. You have the tools to understand them, to deconstruct them, and to rebuild them however you want. The power is completely in your hands. So the only real question left is, which habit will you rewrite first?